So there's a couple of people that have not been introduced properly. Mark, would you do a quick intro for yourself, please? I think you can do it better than I can. I think you need to press a button on that. Try another one.
Okay?
Yes, yeah.
There we go, that's much better. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Mark Warman, and actually I was born in Bahrain, and I was here through till 1997 when I went back to the UK for 10 years for education, employment, that side of things. In 2007 I moved back here and set up East Innovations as a digital marketing agency, and we worked with the Ministry of Culture, the EDB, Porsche Center Bahrain, Audi, and various other regional companies as well. Ran that for 10 years, and then more recently in 2016 switched over to, rather than providing digital marketing services, providing knowledge-based consultancy. So I'll go into companies and help them to adapt to the digital world that we're all we're all having to transform to now.
Great, thank you. And Ahmed, if you can give us a brief intro about yourself. And Sekiyama-san, can you grab this mic as well? There's just keep that for you guys here as well to share. Good, all right.
Okay, so good morning everybody. I'm Ahmed Janahi from Tamkeen, head of community engagement and market engagement generally. So I won't give much brief about myself. I'll talk about Tamkeen like in a line. So I think most of you know Tamkeen. Tamkeen is the national labor fund of Bahrain. What we do is, as the name suggests, we're here to enable the private sector to become the engine of the economy. At the same time, we're here to support the individuals, the Bahraini individuals, as well to become the leaders of that sector. We provide different types of support, whether that's grants, financing, training support, subsidizing of salaries, etc. And we'll try to shed light today in this panel, hopefully, on how can we support with the unreasonable side of work that the companies can do.
Can I just say, guys, this summit is probably supported 80% by Tamkeen. In fact, it's called the Falak Unreasonable Thinking Summit in association with Tamkeen. And every time we have a hiccup here or there with Tamkeen, I pick up the phone and call Ahmed. He makes himself available 24/7 supporting us. So he's actually one of the unreasonable people that is behind the success of the Unreasonable Summit. Can we give him a big clap and Tamkeen? A big clap. Thank you, sir. لا والله. الحق يقال يعني really Tamkeen has been making this possible. And before I start asking my first questions, tell us about Startup Bahrain Week. What's going on? What are some of the other things people can look forward to?
So in the past 2 years or 3 years, Bahrain has been doing a lot in the space of entrepreneurship and technology in general. So 2 years ago, Bahrain started something called the Tech Week, which takes place at the end of September of every year, September, October. The purpose of that is to shed light on the work that's happening in the ICT sector specifically and the technologies that are happening. And that all started with Amazon Web Services coming to the country. Then last year we started something new, which is basically Startup Bahrain Week. Startup Bahrain community was established about 3 years ago. The purpose of that is basically to create a society, a community kind of movement where the startups can talk about their challenges, where they can speak to the government about the things that they need, the policies that could support them. And having that week to celebrate the things that are happening in the country, to shed light more, to focus on their needs and what are the things that that can help them. So it started last year, beginning of March. This is the second year it happens. This year, I think we have over 16 events happening during 1 week, and that's between the 3rd till the 10th of March. One more thing that's going to happen in Bahrain, inshallah, in the coming period of time, in the coming month, which is the Global Entrepreneurship Congress. That's happening, inshallah, on the 15th of April. Everybody in this room is, of course, invited to participate in that session. The Congress is kind of the biggest gathering of entrepreneurs around the world to talk about many topics, such as some of the topics that were discussed actually throughout the summit. I was sitting yesterday during the opening session, I was like, this should have been part of that as well. Because having over 3,000 to 5,000 individuals coming from all around the world, they need to see what's happening in Bahrain. And the summits and the events such as Unreasonable Thinking Summit is one of the things that we are all proud of. So of course Tamkeen will always be here to support events like this. Suhail.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We heard several presentations yesterday. And we heard the word innovation being thrown out. We heard the word disruption being spoken about. Various kinds of buzzwords are being thrown around. And if I were to summarize these words into a single word, we're talking about change. Change. Mark, I want to start with you, put you on the spot, as I did in our last panel discussion. I seem to like to enjoy picking on you for some reason.
Yeah, thanks.
So you're in the digital transformation field.
Right.
How in danger are current corporates, and how in danger are they, and to what degree are they realizing it? Am I making sense? Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're probably banging on their doors saying you don't get it. Are they opening the door and hugging you and welcoming you in, or are they saying, come on, what are you talking about? I mean, tell us about that.
Okay, so you've absolutely struck the area that I want to talk about and I enjoy talking about. So yeah, happy to be put on the spot about this. So yeah, how in danger are incumbent corporates? Incredibly in danger. I have this urgency, this anxiety that I feel in the pit of my stomach, and I know what change is coming, what change has already happened that we're not adapting to in this region, but specifically in this country. There's a huge amount of PR around digital transformation because it's great to be changing, but the actual act of change is scary because it's huge. Like to digitally transform a company is not to put a new layer of technology onto old business models. It is to completely shake up the culture of the business and change how that business is working. 9 out of 10 businesses that I come across are still essentially looking at internal resources that they have and saying, what can we do with these internal resources to make money? And that needs to be completely turned on its head. So it's saying, what do our customers need? What do our users require? And what resources do we need to invest in order to provide that? It's a completely different way of thinking, and it needs an entirely different skill set, a different way of approaching business entirely, and a different way of thinking about digital. I mean, so I've been put on the spot. By show of hands here, who has invested in digital processes in the last, say, 1 or 2 years with the expectation of seeing the benefit of that change occur in the next 10 years' time?
Okay.
Which is great, and it's fantastic to see that some people have.
Was that 2 in the audience?
That was approximately 3.
Okay, and
4.
and one of them is a father and son team, so I think we can count that as 1.
Okay. So, I mean, and it's fantastic, but we're so used to seeing like digital, being this immediate change, We put a post up on Instagram and we have 100 likes. Great, But what does that mean to the business?
It's meaningless.
I think there's a magazine that's just come out recently, and I saw someone tweeted about it, and it shows 15 government entities that all say that they have digitally transformed and we should be communicating with them online. Out of the 15 government agencies, 3 replied with an auto-reply. The rest of them, there was no response, or it said the mailbox was full. And see, this is the problem. The technology's been integrated, and Bahrain.bh is fantastic. Sigilat, like all of it, is great. But the processes haven't changed in the background. And so the needs aren't being fulfilled.
Mark, some of them haven't changed since like 1960.
Exactly.
I won't say which government organization we are dealing with, but they only deal in letters. that you mail or hand deliver.
Yeah, and
right?
look, the last thing I want to do...
There is no email address.
No.
And you know, I have no words to describe. So is it fair to assume that they're not taking it seriously, the threat of digital transformation?
No, not at all. And I think that, you know, there are so many businesses that especially in Bahrain, you know, if you are a distributor, if you're an automotive distributor, the likelihood of Porsche moving from Bebahani to another of the families is fairly unlikely. And so that sense of competition, that sense of fear, is less acute than it would be in a city where you might have 3 or 4 dealerships, where you have to make sure that you are really on top of your game and providing your customers with exactly what they want. So I think that we have a false sense of being shielded from what the rest of the world is going through. But yeah, I feel this urgency, and I want to project that onto other people and to get them as anxious and urgent as I am to get moving with this stuff, because it's not going to happen easily. The change is not going to happen quickly for the business.
And if you don't prepare now, you're going to pay the price later.
Exactly.
Sekiyama-san, you're on the forefront. Give me a second, please. You're on the forefront. You're probably, or you're already the disruptor, not the disruptee, right? Because you're probably going to disrupt Kashmir industry, polyester industry, and God knows how many industries you're going to decimate, you know? How does it feel? Do you look forward to disrupting everyone? Are you excited? Do you feel sorry for them? Give us the perspective of the disruptor rather than the disruptee.
I think I feel, honestly, I do not want to disrupt existing industry, because we respect the existing industry and cashmere material, wool, and petroleum, and so we just only we would like to offer just one option to we can choose. So, but I think the protein material, like our spider silks or the cashmere-like material, that is very useful for the society in this generation. So, but there's no technology to realize to make that material. So, I would like to develop this technology, but honestly, I do not disrupt the existing industry, and hopefully we want to coexist with them. Yeah.
So if I may maybe rephrase or paraphrase what you said, and I love what you said. We don't want to, and we want. So you're coming from an angle of respect and compassion, and it's a little bit counter to the Silicon Valley attitude we've seen, which is the gung ho, destroy everything in front of you. You know, we're the digital pirates. We're going to do this, and we're going to. You're coming in from a place of deep respect and compassion, and in fact, you're going to license out your technology, which probably is your way of contributing rather than competing with this. So I respect that. It's a beautiful answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ahmed, back to you. In Tamkeen, you're seeing the whole landscape. You're seeing the big corporates, you're seeing the banks, you're seeing especially the startups. As Bahrain, are we digitally prepared? Are we going in the right direction? What is your observation on that?
So let me start by saying that I think the biggest mistake that could happen in the market is that the companies, the corporates, the startups, they would believe that somebody like myself sitting in an office and getting my salary at the end of the month would go and tell them what's the right way to do. And that's the biggest problem that we have in Bahrain, is that they expect somebody will come from outside the organization that they own, that they run, that they manage, and will tell them exactly how to do it and where to do it and when to do it. And that's a challenge that we have, honestly. I think the bigger mistake is that me believing it and going out lecturing about it. So that would be a bigger mistake again. From what I see from my interaction with the market, I think our market is ready, but it always lacks that kind of motivation, understanding, and first movers. It always comes with first movers. If we talk about our market 10 years back and our market today, we can see digitally some kind of changes that happened. We are not first movers around the world, if we want to compare ourselves to the other countries. Even speaking about the government level. If we talk about Estonia, for example, what does Estonia have? It's the digital transformation that put Estonia on the map of the
They're
world.
at least 10 years ahead of us.
We had a lady from
Estonia. We had a lady from Estonia here last year. She spoke about digital transformation. Yeah.
Of course, Estonia, compared to the rest of the world, it does not have the oil that we have. It does not have, not even the other financial resources that we have. But they've managed to put themselves on the map of the world because of their digital transformation. And I don't think your company is way more difficult or harder or bigger or more sophisticated than a government like the Estonian government. There is always a way if we want to do it. We can't say we're not ready. Again, let's see what happened post the war in the East Europe at the beginning of 1990s. And within 10 years of that, Estonia became the Estonia that we know. And that's like 15 years ago. Where are we today compared to that? So I don't think we have any excuse. I can't lecture much about it. I think you guys need to do the first move, not us.
And what's fascinating about Estonia is because it was a brand new country, they started with a clean slate. There's no baggage. You know, you're starting a country and you have a blank slate, and you can design it the way you want. And what they did is, I think Finland or one of the other countries was going to donate their old phone network to them, and they said no. We're going to invest in the latest. We're going to leapfrog everybody else. So they had no legacy issues.
But even if you think about the financial requirements that the Estonian government needed in the past 20 years, compared to many other governments that are smaller than Estonia, it's peanuts. So it's not costly as we thought it is in the long run. It's not hard as we thought it is. What are the requirements that what are the prerequisites that they actually checked until that happened? I can't see anything but willingness that made them where they are today.
Fantastic. So fundamentally it comes down to the right mindset.
Exactly.
Victor, you're the social disruptor on this panel, right? So you, as someone who wants to do some social disruption, if we want to call it that, right? And you started your Peace Club at the age of 13, the first one, if I'm not mistaken. And you're doing now work within your country and you're doing work outside of the country. How accepting is the youth to your message? Do you notice that since you started till today, is it improving? Is it getting worse? What are, from a social disruptor's perspective, and I'm inventing this term, I think, what are your observations in terms of acceptability from the youth and the wider stakeholders around you?
Yes, thank you very much. Not to move away from what my colleagues talked about, I think even from the very first point you talked about was the issue of change, endangerment, disruption. These are rhetorics that concerns everybody else. But when we look for an opportunity to create change, how do we not create an environment of fear in the name of change? Because if people feel threatened by change, then nobody's safe at the end of the day. But we're saying, how can we pursue change without planting seeds of destruction? I think this is where we socially get to understand, get to embrace that while we pursue change, we can only pursue by planting the seeds of unity, the seeds of togetherness, so that at the end of the day, we can coexist, like my brother talked about it very well. So I think it's an area to look more into. But the big picture is, where are you in the picture of change? That's the question that we should ask. You talked about it earlier on as well. We should ask ourselves, we talk about change, where are we in the picture of change? Are we going to be on the one chanting for destruction or chanting for coexistence? It's like when we talk about political change, you look towards young people. They're the energy you need for change. They're the energy you need for transformation. But there's one taking young people to the street, and then who controls them in the street? Are they the destructors? Are they the destroyers? Are they the demolition crew? Or you are putting them in a way that as you go to the street, we are going to chant for what we believe in, coexistence, peace, and unity and stability. So to me, the concept of change is being embraced so fast, but in a way, people misinterpret the vision. If visions are clear upfront, then a vision well interpreted is a good opportunity for positive change. But a vision misinterpreted can mean disasters for the society.
Amazing. Okay, so as an angel investor as well, one of the things that angel investors look for is if a new concept can scale. I'm still talking to you, Victor. If it can scale, scaling up is so important. And yesterday someone mentioned something about China, where China, you already have a market. Just one city has 80 million people that you can scale up to, you know? How do you scale a peace message? How do you scale what you do? Are you using any technological platforms, or is it one person from one person at a time? What is your scale-up process or philosophy or plan?
Yes, the scale-up process should take into account the population online and population offline. Mm-hmm. Too soon, we are too quick to declare we are covered because few people are making noise from a country online, yet majority are offline.
Right.
So while we appreciate technological advancement and revolution, we should not forget to bring even the rest of the population may not have access. They lack education, they lack electricity, they lack understanding on how to do this kind of thing. So in a way, we try to make sure that let's take advantage of technology and embrace the positive element of technology in a way that will deliver the messages to the population offline. But also, can we use the platform to amplify the voices of the voiceless in the community? Because this is where the engines for destruction comes from. If they are the consumers of the information, so what is brought to them is how they assume, how they accept it, and how they act on. But if we say we seek collective, holistic change, we need to embrace the fact that majority are still offline. With the minority online, can we take that as an opportunity to reach out to all? But of course, look into the future of the world we live in, the division. If you talk about in the range of 1 to 10, Africa as a continent, in terms of technologies, probably the world is already level 8 and 9 and 10, but Africa might be in level 1 or not yet even 1. So what revolution is needed in the continent? What revolution is needed in Africa to bring the majority of the population who are still behind in terms of technology? The world has gone into robotics, but most African, even universities, doesn't have computers. So this is how bad it gets. Mm-hmm. But we cannot say they're not changing. They're changing, but how can we take them forward without feeling offended? Why are we left behind? Why is everybody? But also, maybe a point I should make here is, the world is advancing towards electric cars. And where are the materials for making the electric cars? Batteries. They are in Africa, in Congo. The cobalt that the world needs to make the electric car batteries are in Congo. But where are the Congolese in the picture? So I think it should come with a point of responsibility. Responsible business would mean we care for humanity, we care for human face. Technology should not be a reason to replace humanity. Humanity should drive technology. It's like holding weapons at hand, but the heart you have in that body holding the weapons matters. How you use the weapons at hand.
Fantastic. Well said. I want to do a quick round and then open to the audience. As briefly as you can, start with you again, Mark. What excites you and what scares you about the future?
I think seeing the growth of interest in sustainability, circular economies, and seeing how the disruption and using technology can be used in a positive way. Seeing that the environment is being considered within that growth. You talk about scaling, and I think it's incredibly important to look at sustainable scaling. There's no point scaling a business if it's going to destroy the world that we live in. And so I'm incredibly excited to see the growth of sustainability and, as I say, circular economies particularly. What scares me is that it's not fast enough. Kind of where we're at in the world, where we're in a situation where by 2050 there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than sea life. And I think it's supposed to be before then as well. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? None of what we're doing matters if we don't have a planet to live on, or if our kids don't have a planet to live on. So yeah, there's where my fear is. But I'm very positive about seeing people using technology to develop sustainable methodologies to scale.
Well, the answer to your question, we're all going to live on Mars, so it's easy.
Of course,
and
so
then
we'll
destroy Mars, and we'll go to another
Just
planet.
keep moving on. We'll be fine.
Sekiyama-san, what excites you and what scares you?
Scale? Yeah, I think my job is developing the new material. However, this is just means to contribute to the society and for peace. So I really would like to scale the message of the peace or the because the sustainability is just the way, just the means to realize the peace or eliminate the war or conflicts.
Excellent. Ahmed.
So if I may share the answer through a quick story.
Sure.
So I have a friend who just retired, early retirement, and he was sharing with us a problem that he has at home. His problem is whenever he talks to his wife, she can't hear him properly. And he was seeking some advice. One of the guys who sits with us in that gathering is he studied medicine, ENT specifically. So he said, I can help you, but I need one thing from you. He said, what? So the doctor told him, if you go home, I need to know the distance, the farthest distance between you and your wife, where she can hear you. How can I do that? When you go home, talk to her. Stand like 25 feet away. If she hears you, come and tell me. If she doesn't, go 5 feet closer. Clear? He went home. He was about 25 feet away from her. He asked her, what are you cooking today? She was cooking. He did not hear an answer. So he went 5 feet closer. It was 20 feet away. Asked her again, what are you cooking today? What do you have for lunch? No answer. Let me cut it short because I don't have much time. So he was 5 feet away from her. He asked her again, what are you cooking today? What are we having for lunch? So she responded, this is the 4th time I tell you we're having majboos. What was the problem? I think the biggest problem that we have with technology today is lack of awareness, adaptability, and decisiveness toward what we actually want. I think technology has always provided opportunities for us. We need to adapt, of course. Things will change, things will not remain. But the biggest fear is with us, is not with somebody else beyond us.
And the ability to listen,
of course,
is such a scarce skill. It fascinates me how very few people actually listen. There's a difference from hearing and listening with intent, as Stephen Covey used to say. Victor, what excites you, what scares you?
I get excited to see that around the world, the usually small nations are stepping forward to do big stuff.
Can you name an example in the Gulf?
Bahrain.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I think I deserve the clap.
I think that audacity, the feeling that I'm not too small to do big work, is really what we need to step forward and do it. Individually, we have to step forward. The nations like this can stand up and be the brighter stars in the region. And I'm very happy about that. So this is really where hope is. I'm looking forward to the young generations who doesn't feel too small anymore, but to step forward with confidence, with love and courage and good vision. What scares the hell out of me? Yes, there's that. I think the world is becoming too quick to appreciate technology over humanity. Mm-hmm. Technology is replacing humanity. We are soon manufacturing children in laboratory, which is really, that's really what is going to happen. Soon we are going to disregard maybe a gender. We are going to disregard a generation. But it would be a very unique experience for the world to succeed with a divided generation. I would hope that we don't let technology replace humanity. This is where I'm scared, this is where I'm afraid, because if you send robots to go and fight war, robots doesn't have the heart of humanity. It will shoot and kill any moving stuff, whether it be dogs, a child who knows nothing to do with politics. Usually the war used to be fought one-on-one. You would see that I am killing the hedge mate of my grandchild, but now you're sending robots from hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. So technology is replacing humanity. That's my biggest fear.
Thank you, that's amazing. Thank you so much. We have a few minutes for questions. Any questions? We have in the front here, if we can bring a mic to the lip, just put up your hand high. Ma'am, لو ترفعين يدك بس. High, that's not high. High like this, yeah, there you go. Okay, can we send the mic to her? And if we have the mics here, can someone grab a mic from the table? I think we have some mics here. Did we see her?
So, hello everyone. As we know, the virtual CRs in Bahrain was introduced around 2 years now. My question to Tamkeen, we heard in the news that there are upcoming schemes to support virtual CRs. So if you can give us a glimpse, as well as my second part of the question, I read in the news that the aim for supporting virtual CRs is to transform them from a virtual CR into a normal physical organization. So going by the spirit of this summit, do you think this is the reasonable thinking of growing a virtual CR into a normal organization? So do you think this aim is supporting the digitalization of Bahrain? And why you think virtual CR should be converted to a normal CR instead of supporting more virtual, and instead of
Good. If we can just summarize, so your question is
yes.
about virtual CRs and transforming virtual CRs into regular CRs.
Yeah, so why a normal virtual CR with less overhead, so reduced fees, should be converted to a normal organization with more overheads?
Question is clear, and for those, our guests, a virtual CR is a virtual commercial registration or business license here in Bahrain. So for someone to start a business, they can do a virtual business license or commercial registration. I don't know if this is something that you want to answer or you want to... Okay, go ahead.
So I'll not talk about the virtual CRs themselves because that's the ministry role to talk about it. I'll talk about the Tamkeen support, which is exactly what you asked about. So it's been almost a year now since the launch of the virtual CRs. We took our time because of multiple limitations in terms of understanding what the virtual CRs needs. Again, I'll go back to a point, as I mentioned as a comment in the first question that Suhail asked me. We are not here to lead the market, which is a misunderstanding that's in the market today. Tamkeen tells the market what to do. We are not here to tell the market what to do. We are here to support and enable the market. And that's something we're trying to be very clear about every single time we meet with the public. So yes, we've been studying how can we support the virtual CRs. Hopefully within 2 weeks from today, actually less than 2 weeks from today, we'll be announcing exactly what is our support for the virtual CRs. It will be a lot in the area of the digitization, as we're talking about that now. We'll be supporting that a lot, especially for the virtual CRs. We don't have the intention of transforming the virtual CRs into actual CRs, although that's a plus. We do believe it's a plus because there are many limitations on the virtual CRs today in terms of recruitment, providing jobs opportunities, etc. That's why Tamkeen always puts a priority for the actual CRs, for the actual business license that we have today, because of that kind of advantage it has over the virtual CRs. That's the only thing. If you want to ask about the rules and regulations of the virtual CRs, as Suhail mentioned, that would be the role of the Ministry of Commerce to respond.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? We have a lady in the back in the green hijab. If we make yourself known again. صدتيها سمر عرفتيها؟ Yeah, okay. And sorry, alaykum assalam. If we can make it brief, if we can make the question brief. Thank you.
When we will close the gap between the being a user of the technology and creating of the technology. Mr. Siniyaki, he talked about producing, and Mr. Moran talks about applying the technology.
Is this question to either of them or to
yourself, please?
I wish I paid more attention to what the question was.
No.
I think I got the question.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we are used to be consuming of clothes, of food,
right.
of everything.
I got it.
And now of technology. We have to start thinking about producing technology. This is my
I think you
observation.
asked, honestly speaking, I think you asked the best question of the morning, or probably of this summit, because there is a huge, huge gap. We are fundamental consumers. If you look at some of the big airlines, they buy these huge, huge planes. In the Middle East, we have the largest airline networks now, the most efficient, but we don't make the planes. We create something like Kareem. We have Kareem here, which is the equivalent of Uber and so on, but we don't make the technology that makes the app. We don't make the phones that uses the app. We are still fundamentally consumers and users, and we need to be creators of technology. I agree 100%. We are not investing enough in R&D and in education. We're investing in education, but we're not teaching our kids how to think. Second, the government, in my view, not that I'm someone who should give the government advice, but must invest in R&D for R&D's sake. We see this happening in the West. Look at what we just saw from Sekiyama-san, the institutes that are investing in technology. The impact program, it was, I forget what it was for, but disruptive technology and so on. We don't have this. We don't have an institution that invests in technology for investing in technology's sake. We need to have this. And unless we start doing that, unless we have big budgets for this, unless we invest in our people in this, and unless we have long-term horizons, because from when a technology first is developed to it becoming mainstream is about 30 years. The stuff that we see today is something that happened 30 years ago that makes it possible. And unless we do that, we will never become leaders in technology, ever. We will forever be a third world nation or a third world region until we realize the importance of investment in technology and R&D. So there you go. Good, thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take one more question, a little bit behind schedule. Last chance? Good, we're good. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you. Can we take a group photo together, please?